Everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from the Federalist dated June 3rd, and it says Joe Biden's fingerprints are all over the criminal prosecutions of Donald Trump, and I have to say, as if we didn't know that, but let's go ahead and see what Le Federaliste has to say. It says, Joe Biden and those seeking to ensure his re-election have their hands all over Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's prosecution of the former president. And I love how there's some in like the liberal media, like, say, a certain guy whose name rhymes with George Stephanopoulos trying to deny that that's even the case, when it's like, dude, again, I've said this before, it's ignoring all evidence in front of your eyes and ears, and that's seemingly what he wants to do. So, diving in, as in response to Americans' outcry over the political prosecutions of Donald Trump and a Manhattan jury convicting the former president on 34 felony counts, President Joe Biden declared, it's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict. That's sweet coming from him and his side, but okay. So as coming from the commander in rigging, this proclamation means nothing. As Biden and those seeking to ensure his re-election have their hands all over Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's prosecution of the former president. The lead prosecutor for Bragg during the trial was Matthew Colangelo, and this is the exact guy I was thinking of. And if people are going to sit here trying to say it wasn't rigged, this is the name you need to be familiar with, is Matthew Colangelo. It says, in December 22nd, Colangelo left the Biden Department of Justice to jumpstart the criminal case against Trump. Biden had previously named Colangelo his acting associate attorney general, the third highest-ranking official in the DOJ. Says there's plenty more where that came from. Says Colangelo's role in prosecuting his former boss's political opponent provides the most obvious evidence of the Biden administration's involvement in the Manhattan DA's criminal targeting of Trump, but the rigging started much earlier. I feel like there's a lot of long sentences in this article. I have to take a really deep breath before every one of them. As I previously reported, that's not me, Jason, that's the author of the article speaking, the incestuous relationship between the Manhattan DA's office and Team Biden began as early as mid-February 2021. Then, Bragg's predecessor, District Attorney Cyrus Vance, arranged for a private criminal defense attorney and former federal prosecutor Mark Pomerantz to be a special assistant district attorney for the Manhattan DA's office. As the New York Times reported at the time, Pomerantz was to work solely on the Trump investigation during a temporary leave of absence from his law firm, Paul, Weiss, Rifkind, Wharton, and Garrison. Add another name in there. Why not? Let's just keep adding names until it's like an entire paragraph of names. Like, what's going to happen in that case if those law firms last that long? I've always been curious about that. But anyway, before I go off on another tangent, but even before being sworn in as a special assistant to the Manhattan DA, Pomerantz had reportedly been helping with the case informally for months. Even Democrats' most reliable old gray lady of the evening acknowledged the hiring of an outsider is a highly unusual move for a prosecutor's office. Soon after the Manhattan DA hired Pomerantz, two of his colleagues, Alyssa Abuhoff and Caroline Williamson, also took leaves of absence from Paul Weiss to serve as special assistant district attorneys on the Trump investigation. So for a law firm to lend not one but three lawyers to the Manhattan's DA's office seems rather magnanimous until you consider Paul Weiss's previous generosity to Joe Biden. So they're trying to help. As I previously reported, again, the author, not me, Jason, during Biden's first run for the White House, the law firm hosted a $2,800 per plate fundraiser for about 100 guests. I wouldn't have somebody pay me $2,800 to go sit with Joe Biden or do any sort of fundraiser for him. It says, Brad Karp, the chair of Paul Weiss, also topped the list of Biden fundraisers, bundling at least $100,000 for the then candidate. At the time, Karp wrote in an email, as someone who cares passionately about preserving the rule of law, safeguarding our democracy, and protecting fundamental liberties, I've been delighted to do everything I possibly can to support Joe Biden-Kamala Harris ticket. Well, too bad you backed the wrong horse when it came to safeguarding our democracy and protecting fundamental liberties. You decided to put your money behind the people who are going to get rid of all of that. Good job there. This is why people don't like lawyers. Well, it's one of the reasons. As Biden's relationship with Karp continued after his election, with the president including Karp and his wife at a state dinner with the Australian Prime Minister. Karp and his fellow Paul Weiss lawyers continued to fund Biden's re-election campaign. In fact, Biden's connection to the firm is so strong, Bloomberg branded Paul Weiss the Biden-era New York Power Center. But for Paul Weiss, lending Pomerantz to the Manhattan DA's office to control the Trump investigation, the former president likely never would have been charged. According to Pomerantz, Bragg had decided not to go forward with the grand jury presentation and not to seek criminal charges, indefinitely suspending the investigation. Pomerantz made those claims in the resignation letter he tendered to Bragg in early 2022, which was deliberately leaked to the New York Times. You know, I'm always an impartial actor, the New York Times. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's close that. I do not want to open anything about the New York Times. This Pomerantz's letter and his claims that Bragg had suspended the Trump probe triggered a political firestorm, which the Manhattan DA sought to quell by telling the public the investigation was ongoing. Soon after, Bragg capitulated, hiring Biden's high-ranking DOJ lawyer, Colangelo, who proceeded to indict and convict Trump. In contrast to the Biden-connected attorneys who secured Trump's indictment and conviction, in late 2021, at least 3 career prosecutors in the Manhattan DA's office asked to be removed from the investigation of Trump, reportedly concerned that the investigation was moving too quickly without clear evidence to support possible charges. And as we know today, because this is after Trump was already convicted, nobody seems to know what the charges actually are, even the judge. So why was he charged? Who knows? But anyway, this is not just Manhattan. So the Biden connection to the political targeting of Trump is not limited to the Manhattan DA's office. In August 2023, Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis charged Trump and 18 other Republicans in a sprawling 98-page criminal indictment. Earlier this year, court filings and testimony in the case related to motions to disqualify Willis and her former lover, Nathan Wade, revealed the Fulton County DA's office had met with the White House counsel in May 2022. Then, just 3 days after Trump announced his 2024 candidacy for president, Wade traveled to D.C. for an interview with the White House, according to Fulton County records. I like how they put it in scare quotes. Was kind of like if I know that they're saying like that's probably what he wrote on something on like his records, but it's like, what else could that possibly mean? Especially in this context, like it probably really was the White House. So it says the Biden administration's White House counsel's office also dispatched 2 letters to Willis, according to one of her prosecutors. Biden and his Democrat-run administration also had their fingers all over the remaining 2 criminal cases targeting Trump, both brought by special counsel Jack Smith. President Biden, according to an April 2nd, 2022 New York Times report, as recently as late last year, confided to his inner circle that he believed former President Donald J. Trump was a threat to democracy and should be prosecuted. Joe Biden said that. That's kind of funny, considering, he's imprisoned the lead candidate of his political opponents, so I don't think it's Donald Trump that's the problem. So it says, the Times claimed Biden had expressed frustration with Garland's deliberative approach and that the president believed Trump should be prosecuted. The president has said privately that he wanted Mr. Garland to act less like a ponderous judge and more like a prosecutor who is willing to take decisive action over the events of January 6th, the Legacy outlet reported. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? The insurrection that actually wasn't an insurrection if you actually know what the definition of the word is. But okay, sure. As Biden's attorney general would eventually appoint Smith special counsel. Smith would later charge Trump in 2 separate indictments, one in Florida concerning documents the former president retained, and one in D.C. with various conspiracy to defraud and obstruction charges related to Trump's challenging the outcome of the 2020 election. And it says, stretching the law past its breaking point. With the D.C. indictment, the special counsel delivered to Biden just what he wanted, a prosecution of Trump for his role in the events of January 6th. The events where he told everybody to go home peacefully and to not do anything stupid or illegal. I mean, I'm obviously paraphrasing, but he did say to march peacefully, so yeah, I don't think he did anything. So to deliver for Biden, though, required Smith to stretch the federal criminal code to the point of breaking. In the case of 2 of the crimes charged, in the context of the January 6, 2021 defendants, and as I say that, I'm thinking of the little Wikipedia note that's going to show up on this video now, even though I'm not really saying much about it other than just repeating what the article says, because YouTube is retarded. It says the Supreme Court seems poised to limit the reach of the relevant statutes, a holding that could mean that Smith charged Trump with 2 non-crimes. Seems to be a familiar thing with Donald Trump. We're charging him with things that aren't actually crimes. The final criminal case pending against Trump, Smith's documents case, also connects back to the Biden administration. That case began when the DOJ launched an investigation prompted by a referral from the National Archivist related to a dispute over presidential records, even though the same archivist declined to refer Hillary Clinton to the DOJ for mishandling classified documents. Later, a top aide to Smith, Jay Bratt, would meet with White House officials multiple times, just weeks before Mr. Smith indicted former President Donald Trump. That case has been delayed after it was revealed the FBI agents who executed a search warrant obtained by the Biden administration had failed to keep the documents seized from Mar-a-Lago in the same condition they were found, with the order of the materials mixed up. So it's contaminated evidence. Good job, guys. At the same time, it was revealed that the classified cover sheets depicted in the photographs of the evidence seized during the August 22, 2022, I can talk, search of Trump had been placed there by federal agents. Whoops. As the leak of those photographs falsely portrayed the former president as in possession of documents bearing classified cover sheets. Biden can continue to deny his responsibility for the criminal targeting of his political opponent all he wants, but the facts tell a different story. So did the president's malevolent smile on Friday? I was just thinking this. So did the president's malevolent smile on Friday when he was asked to respond to Trump calling himself a political prisoner and blaming the president directly? So, yeah, if you haven't seen that smile, yeah, it's like it's almost like one of those things where it was like, yep, it's me. I think of Vince McMahon in the WWE, be like, it was me, Austin. It was me the whole time. It's like what Joe Biden could say if he could actually string words together. This dickhead right here. Anyway. Do you agree with this? Because I certainly do. It definitely seems like Joe Biden's fingerprints are all over the criminal prosecutions of our hopefully next president. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.